G'day, I'm Rob. Welcome to A Life That Travels Live. And today we've got a really important topic to talk about, which is the fact that it's completely normal to be anxious about starting university. And we're not only going to talk about why it's completely normal to be feeling a little bit anxious if that's you just about to start university, but most importantly, what you can actually do about it, because there's actually a ton of things that you can do that's going to make transitioning into uni so much easier. And there's a ton of really practical, hackable ways for you to have a much better starting experience, particularly if you're somebody that is a little bit nervous about starting uni. And you know what? Like when I started university years ago, I actually brought my mum with me to orientation. I've never told anyone that before, but I was really anxious about going there by myself. So my mum came with me to open day and to O week, and helped me enroll in all of my classes and everything like that. And you know what? Like there's actually nothing wrong with that at all. I feel very comfortable with that decision now, because this kind of anxiety is very normal. If you think about when you go into anything new, like you go into any kind of new environment, we feel out of our depth, out of our comfort zone. And the reason for that is that the brain is constantly bombarded with information, right? Every moment of every day, there's like literally thousands of stimuli around. I mean, in this room alone, there's lights, there's background noise with the microphone, there's like literally colours and things going on everywhere. There's so much information being processed at every moment, around us at every moment, that we're literally overwhelmed. And so the brain looks for shortcuts. And the main way it looks for shortcuts is by like creating patterns and recognizing patterns that you become familiar with. And that's why when suddenly you're out of your comfort zone, it feels really awkward, because you're in a point where suddenly like your brain gets overwhelmed with new information. So psychologically, it can be really challenging. Therefore, it's like completely normal, guys, if you are feeling a little bit out of sorts heading into uni for the very first time. And honestly, like quite a lot of this comes from expectations, right? Expectations that you have, as well as the expectations that people around you have. I think it might have been the Dalai Lama said something like, suffering is the gap between expectations and reality. And the reality is that you don't know what you're going into because you haven't been there before. You haven't been to university, so you don't know what it's going to be like. And those expectations are what are kind of like ticking around in the back of your head, probably making you feel anxious. Now, in addition to that, there's the expectations that you feel that other people have for you. So whether that's like your parents, your friends, your siblings, your grandparents, society in general, YouTubers screaming at you that you need to find your passion and all that kind of crap, those are other people's expectations and other people's baggage, and you really just need to let that stuff go. Because here's the reality, guys, like you're heading to university and you might fail there. You might mess something up. You might end up in a class that's absolutely shitty. The subject that you've chosen might not suit you. And you know what? That is actually okay, because we learn the most in life when we do make mistakes, when we do stuff things up, when times are challenging and uncomfortable. That's actually when we learn the most. And at the end of the day, learning the most is kind of like what's going to take you far in life. So take the pressure off yourself, all right? Because you might fail, and that's all right. So let's talk tactics, because, it's normal to be anxious going into uni. It's normal to feel out of sorts, but there are definitely things that you can do to help with the process. And look, if you're watching this live stream or the recording, watching back, and you've had something that worked for you, please drop it in the comments. That's super helpful for people in future. Or if you have questions, definitely drop them in there, and I'll absolutely respond to you. But let's talk about tactics. And the first thing is one around stress. Researchers have found that when we like stress out about something, you kind of feel yourself closing off, and it like loads us up with anxiety, and we feel really negative and bad about it. But they actually have found that just by one little simple trick, you're able to actually flip that whole process on its head. And that little trick is simply to realize that that stress, all those hormones going on in your head and in your body, are actually preparing you for what's to come. And so, like, usually we feel stressed because we feel like pressure is on top of us. And in fact, if you turn that thought over and you go, hang on a second, this stress, this anxiety, this feeling that I have is actually me being excited, me getting ready to attack this new challenge. What they've found in research terms is that actually like dilates blood vessels. It releases other kinds of hormones in your brain that actually put a positive light on it. So first and foremost, if you're feeling stressed and anxious, realize that that's your body getting you ready for a new situation, and that just by realizing that and being prepared, realizing that's your body getting you amped for it and excited for it, that's already going to completely change your physiology and help you on your way. Secondly, like one of the big things that I think a lot of people get anxious about heading into uni is like, how am I going to meet people? How am I going to like make new friends? Are they going to like me? Well, you know, the people that end up being almost the most popular are the best listeners. So what you have to realize is that as you're going into university, it's not about you trying to convince people that you're like the coolest person or anything like that. What you really want to be able to do is to listen to the people who are around you. And you listen by asking questions. So what I strongly recommend is you actually sit down and write a list of like 10 different questions that you can ask new people when you meet them. That can be everything like, where did you go to school? Do you like cats? Do you like dogs? Have you been traveling before? You know, do you play sport? Do you like music? What music do you like? And if you end up with like these kind of 10 questions that you can ask literally any new person, and most importantly, you listen to their answer, and then follow that up with another question, like approach that conversation with genuine curiosity, I can guarantee you that that person is going to have a positive reaction to you, because we love to be heard and we love to be understood as human beings. And so in you asking questions and doing the listening, that actually sets you up to have a really good relationship with whoever that person might be. Even if you find out down the track that, you know, you don't actually really like them, that's okay. That's your choice. But in terms of making that transition easier, questions and then listen to the answers. It's the foundational cornerstone of good interview technique, and it's the foundation of good relationships too, is actually to be able to listen to what people are saying to you. Nextly, clubs and societies, Facebook groups, like there are so many different organizations that you're going to come across on campus, based around your interests, based around things that you may not have heard of before, but kind of make you go, oh, that's kind of curious. And that's like the best thing about university, is that universities are these melting pots of everything, right? Where you literally have access to different topics and courses and clubs and people, and everyone's got different opinions, and you need to explore that. And in tapping into every one of those opportunities that you didn't realize, you know, you may be interested in, follow that curiosity, because that curiosity is what can then lead you down the track to something that you might actually want to work in, you might end up doing, you know, as a hobby and falling in love with. The best thing about uni is the fact that you have so many opportunities to try new things. So do that. Join clubs, get on Facebook, join the different Facebook groups, and those things will really help you meet new people who have similar interests to you, and will make that transition a little bit easier. Drop a comment. Any comments, please drop me in the comments, and I'll absolutely respond to you. If you've had something which has worked for you as you started uni, please drop it down there for anyone, because your advice absolutely helps people coming into this for the first time. Look, the next thing, folks, is something called a gratitude journal. You know, I think when we feel anxious and we feel like negative thoughts, they can really overwhelm us fast. And what researchers found, psychologists have found, is that when we replace those like anxious feelings with gratitude for something, it like basically blocks out all the other negativity and those kind of anxious feelings. So if you're unable to like think of that stress and think about how to turn that stress into like motivation, like you're getting ready, then journal, like get it in a diary and just write down every day 3 things that you're grateful for. You know, the fact that you live in Australia. It's awesome in Australia. We're lucky, right? That, you know, if you're lucky enough to have a great family and to be secure, fantastic, like be grateful for that, because that gratitude like fills you up. And basically just it's like having a full glass. Like when your glass is full, there's no space in there for you to be like anxious and stressed about what's coming. So highly recommend getting yourself like a diary, a little journal, and every day, 2-3 minutes, just writing down a couple of things that you're really grateful for and focusing on that. Now back, once you start universities these days are so different to how they were decades ago. They have phenomenal services that are available for students. They have like peer programs. Almost every university in the country has like a peer program for students who are new to university. It's like a peer mentoring program, which you can join and you should join. You know, there's absolutely no shame in having a mentor or feeling like you need to connect to other people. We're humans. Like connection is what we do. So make sure you join the peer mentoring program. Get yourself a mentor. There are also, you know, one of the things you might be worried about is like, what's it like when I start classes? Like if I'm going to struggle with a topic, because genuinely, if you're coming out of high school for the first time, this may be the first time that you've had full choice over everything you get to do. You get to choose whether or not you go to class. You get to choose whether or not you do that assignment, and that sudden availability of choice can make it really hard to actually focus because like you'd rather be at the uni bar or like sleeping or working to earn money. Like there are so many different things that you could be doing. So universities have worked this out and they have like peer assisted study sessions. So if you're struggling in a class, you can actually go to one of these peer assisted study sessions where they'll help you. Former students will help you with the class. So a student that studied that particular topic last year will be there in a study session to help you with the questions that you have. So don't suffer in silence because universities are totally set up there. They want to keep you there. They want to see you succeed. Make sure you take advantage of those peer-assisted study sessions. The peer mentoring programs are really powerful. And lastly, you know, in terms of those services, like never be afraid to realise that and to reach out to the counselling services on campus. I think there's a lot of stigma still, even though society's come a long way, around like mental health and these feelings of being anxious and stressed out. And universities all have like professional people on campus that they can that can help you with that. So find out where the counselling service is and go in to see them because they can certainly help you if you need other sorts of support. So you know, social support, clubs and societies, peer mentors, academic support. Talk to the lecturer who's teaching the class. If you really don't understand something, reach out to them. Peer-assisted study sessions. And then, you know, like for your emotional health, which is so critical, let's be honest, like your emotional health, like counselling service. Just go do that. Be fearless about it. Because it's happened to us all. We've all felt blue and under pressure at different times. And there's nothing wrong to actually admit that. I brought my mum to orientation. And, you know, like now, decades later, I'm now running a couple of businesses and doing this YouTube stuff, even though I'm a bit of an introvert. Like, life can take you a long way in what's a relatively short time period, as long as you're just honest about things. And I think that's the last thing I'd like to sort of say around transitioning to uni and the fact that it's completely normal to be anxious about starting something new and something that's as significant as university. And you think about it, like that anxiety is something that's come from your past. It's not something that's about the future, really. Like the future, you don't know what it's going to bring you. You could start university and then 2 days later win the lottery and decide that you want to go on a trip around the world in first class. You don't know. It's not the future that actually makes you anxious. It's actually the stuff that's in your past that's kind of like built inside you. And look, there's this analogy which is like, you know, imagine that you're watching television and it's a fantastic show and you're deeply engrossed in that story that's unfolding in front of you. To the extent that you actually forget that you're sitting on the couch watching the screen. That's true, right? Like there's this story which goes on in front of you when you're watching TV, which can be so compelling and engrossing that you suddenly realize that you're not there anymore. You forget that you're there. But like those feelings, that anxiety and everything, is kind of the same. If you actually pause for a second and realize that you realize the anxiety is there, right? Same as when you're angry or you're sad. Like, you realize that you are angry and sad. You're actually not the anxiety, and you are not the sadness, and you are not the anger. You're the person who's sitting behind that can see it unfolding. And when you can detach back from that and you can actually see that anxiety or that sadness or something happening in front of you, it's incredibly powerful. It doesn't mean that you don't feel it. You just realize that you are the person who's sitting behind it. You're not the experience. You're not the anxiety itself. That does not define you. And a lot of that stuff comes from our past, from things that are deep in our past. So let it go. Like, when you feel that anxiety, that stress, you're going into something new, step back from it, realize that you can see it, realize that you're watching it happening, and just release it. Like, let it go, and you'll be amazed at how liberating that feeling can be. I hope this has been helpful for you guys. Please drop in the comments. Please subscribe. This channel is all about helping people find what it is that works for them, whether it's through studying or traveling or working or building a career. That's what this channel is all about. So please subscribe, please share the message, and anything that you would like to contribute is very helpful for the people that come behind. So good luck transitioning into uni. It's completely normal to feel anxious and stressed, and stay in touch. I'll see you next time on A Life That Travels Live. I'm Rob. See you later.